Hello, this is England Pello, the Aspiring Writers Podcast. This is episode 2 of Aspiring Reads, stories that can enlighten your mind and show you how to write in ways that you have never done before. Stories that can teach you things about the world that you didn't know before you read them, and stories that will change the way that maybe you even see the world forever and ever. Today, I want to talk about an author that many places may not know of, but for me it's a whole name because down in New Orleans in Louisiana, it's a writer that many know because we live in the sticks mostly, and the people that live in the sticks read about the sticks, I guess. It's a writer who writes about coming of age and how a man should be a man and not anything else. It's a writer who teaches us how to be men at times, and it's a writer that teaches us how to evolve into something new. This writer is Louis L'Amour. I see many talk about his novels, many down in the sticks, and many that like to live in the country lifestyle, but I'm not a country lifestyle person. So you may be wondering, how could I love Louis L'Amour so much whenever that's all that he is, really? And that's because of the intrigue of his novels. They teach you things that you could not even know before you read them. They teach you a way of the world that you haven't thought of before. Today I want to talk about my favorite and one that is a true epic, a novel that I think if you ever care to write a story about good villains and great storytelling, it's a novel that you must read before doing so. This novel is The Last of the Breed. As many of you may know about Louisiana, and many of you may not, because I've read a few novels where they think that it's the other way, but it's definitely not. It doesn't snow very often. In fact, it's only snowed 2 times in my 16-year life, and that's a very long time indeed. One was when I was small, just a little tyke, as Louis L'Amour would probably say. But The Last of the Breed takes place in a place where snow is very common and where the world is very shrouded in it. And so I decided that I would wait to read this novel for a long time until there came a day that it would snow so I could get the full grasp of it. And I'm so glad that I did that because it made it truly amazing. I'll never forget the memory of it snowing outside, like in a way that I've never known. I spent the whole day outside that day because it's the only day that it has snowed in the past 10 years. But when the day was fading and the night was becoming close, the chilliest night that we've probably ever had in this usually very heat-stricken area, I sat down with a cup of hot chocolate, something that I don't very often drink, and I opened this novel, and man, I was glad that I waited. The Last of the Breed is a story in the height of the Soviet war, when stakes are high and war is very common. A man named Mackenzie, or Mac for short, was one of the captives that was taken during the height of the war. He was held in a prison camp, and many thought that he'd never see the light of the day. Many thought that he was weak, but what they did not understand was that he had a lineage that was far stronger than many people knew, and he knew how to do things that many men could not imagine. He was a descendant not of the modern American, but of the ancient ones. He was a descendant of the Indians before us, the natives. He knew how to live tough, and he knew how to live in the land. So even in a freezing place where the temperature can drop to negative 20 degrees, he knew how to live. Whenever water froze, he knew how to keep himself warm. Whenever the frostbite was close, he knew how to ward it off. He was trained in these things for a very long time, and it was in his blood and his family. That is what Colonel Zonatov, the man who held him captive, could never have expected. When the Native American escapes, it is in his blood not to just run, but instead to have vengeance on the people who did him wrong. So rather you're reading this book in the summer, or reading it in the winter as I did, and if you are blessed to live in a place with snow very often, I highly recommend that you read it in that time for the full grasp of what it can be. It's a story of frostbite and of cold winter and even colder hearts, but it's also a story of survival and of a man being a man. A story of a hero and a story of vengeance, but also a great story indeed. I think it even reaches the heights of the Count of Monte Cristo and many other vengeance stories out there, but once again, that's for you to decide. This has been England Pello, the Aspiring Writers Podcast. I hope that this novel inspires you, and I highly recommend that you read it to begin with. Goodbye.